Chapter 1. Stop breathing blindly. Most people breathe without thought. Air flows in, air flows out. Scent passes unnoticed. You walk down a street, step into a room, or sit at a cafe, and you are blind to the invisible signals your nose could detect. It's a habit that numbs you to life. Every aroma carries information about the environment, about people, about opportunity. Your nose is not just a tool, it is a compass, a sensor, a brain amplifier. But if you ignore it, you remain blind in plain sight. Training your nose is about conscious attention, deliberate practice, and daily engagement. The first step is simple, but it is often skipped. Stop breathing blindly. Start inhaling with purpose. Every time you draw a breath, notice what you smell. Do not filter. Do not rationalize. Simply notice. Exercise, 1 minute scent scan. Stand, sit, or walk somewhere safe. Close your eyes if you like. Take 1 minute, 60 seconds. Inhale slowly, deeply, deliberately. Notice each scent, the lingering aroma of coffee, the faint tang of cleaning chemicals, the crisp smell of air outside. Count each scent. Label it in your mind. Don't judge it, just acknowledge it. Repeat daily. Every day, this minute will expand your awareness. Within weeks, you'll notice aromas you previously ignored. You will start to see the world with your nose. Why is this important? Because smell is linked directly to your limbic system, the part of the brain that governs emotion, memory, and instinct. Proust famously described how the smell of a madeleine transported him through time. Modern neuroscience confirms it. Scent triggers emotional and cognitive responses far faster than sight or sound. Your nose is a shortcut to intuition, a lever to sharpen your decision-making, and a tool to live fully in the present. If you ignore it, you ignore a key part of your brain. Start small. Begin with familiar environments. Your bedroom, your kitchen, your office. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and breathe in. Notice what's there. Notice what wasn't there yesterday. The faint musk of books, the lingering spice from last night's cooking, the subtle freshness of laundry detergent. Everything tells a story. Everything carries information. Far from being overwhelmed, it's about noticing. Discipline yourself to notice. Repetition is critical. The mantra for this chapter is, I notice every scent. I live through my nose. Say it aloud if you must. Whisper it. Write it down. Repeat it mentally whenever you inhale. The brain thrives on repetition. Repetition rewires the subconscious. Repetition strengthens the signal. With each repetition, your olfactory awareness grows. You begin to detect patterns in scents, subtle shifts in environments, emotional cues from others, all hidden until now. Real-world example. Consider a chef walking into a kitchen. The smell of fresh ingredients, the faint hint of burnt food, or the delicate aroma of herbs tells the chef what is happening in every corner of the kitchen before a single word is spoken. A perfumer evaluates raw oils not with sight but with smell, discerning notes invisible to the eye. Athletes use scent cues in sports, sweat, turf, or even rubber, to make instinctive, split-second decisions. You are not different from these experts, you are simply untrained. But that can change. Start to notice variations. Smell is not static. Air changes as people move, as food cooks, as weather shifts. A faint wetness in the air signals rain. A dusty corner hints at neglect. A subtle floral note may indicate someone walked by with a perfume or lotion. Learn to read the world through these invisible signals. You will be more aware. You will notice what others do not. You will understand without being told. Most people move through life breathing mechanically, missing information, missing connection, missing opportunity. By stopping, focusing, and breathing intentionally, you are reclaiming control. You are exercising a dormant sense that has been lying in wait. Every inhalation is a chance to engage fully with the present moment. Do not waste it. It's not about perfection. It's about practice. It's not about being extraordinary. It's about being disciplined. Another practical tip: combine your senses. Close your eyes during your 1-minute sense scan. The absence of vision enhances olfactory awareness. Try moving slowly while sniffing. Walk through a park or down a hallway and notice how scents change with movement. Practice differentiating layers. Is that the smell of coffee, paper, or cleaning fluid? Can you detect an underlying aroma, like smoke in the distance or dampness in the air? Each layer you perceive strengthens your olfactory acuity. Remember, I notice every scent. I live through my nose. Repeat it. Breathe it. Internalize it. This is not just a mantra, it is a directive for disciplined engagement. Your nose, your mind, and your life are all connected. Neglect one, and the others weaken. Focus on one, and all grow stronger. Before we close this chapter, understand this: the practice you start today is cumulative. The first few days may feel awkward, even pointless. You may not detect much. That is normal. The brain takes time to rewire. The nose takes time to awaken. But persistence pays off. Within a week, you will notice subtle differences in environments you pass every day. Within a month, scents will guide your emotions, your decisions, and your awareness. You are no longer just walking through life. You are smelling it, interpreting it, living it. Chapter 2: The Science of Smell. Your nose is not just a piece of anatomy, it is a high-performance instrument. Most people think of scent as a background feature, something faintly pleasant or unpleasant. But the truth is far more powerful. Smell is a direct line to the brain, a channel for memory, emotion, decision-making, and instinct. It is a sensory superpower that millions ignore every day. The first step to mastering it is understanding how it works. Let's start with the basics. The nose contains millions of olfactory receptors, tiny sensors that detect airborne molecules. Each receptor responds to specific chemical structures, sending signals to the olfactory bulb, a specialized brain structure at the front of the brain, just above the nasal cavity. From there, the signal travels to the limbic system, which governs emotion and memory, and then to the prefrontal cortex, where conscious perception occurs. In simpler terms, what your nose detects is processed instantly, often before you even realize it consciously. This is why a smell can trigger memories you haven't thought of in years, or why a subtle scent can shift your mood without warning. Instead of magic, it's about anatomy and discipline. Your brain has a direct highway from smell to thought. Ignoring it is ignoring a critical source of information. Activating it consistently trains your mind, sharpens your attention, and rewires your memory. It's not about having better receptors, it's about using the ones you have. The discipline lies in practice. Real-world example: perfumers spend years distinguishing microscopic scent differences. They can detect variations invisible to untrained noses, a hint of bergamot here, a touch of jasmine there. Sommeliers, similarly, identify grape varieties, fermentation styles, and age differences purely through smell and taste. Chefs rely on their noses to gauge doneness, freshness, and seasoning. These experts leverage the same olfactory pathways you were born with, but they train them relentlessly. That is the difference between ordinary perception and expert perception: practice, repetition, and conscious focus. Now, let's link this to cognition. Neuroscience proves that smell is uniquely connected to memory and attention. Unlike vision or hearing, olfactory signals bypass the thalamus, the brain's relay station, and go directly to the limbic system. This is why scents can evoke emotions faster than any other stimulus. Researchers at Rockefeller University found that olfactory cues can trigger autobiographical memories with vivid detail more effectively than images or sounds. This is not coincidence. It is your brain wired to process scents for survival, decision-making, and social cues. It's a biological advantage, but only if you notice it. Exercise, smell mapping. Take a small object, like a spice, a coffee bean, or a flower. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly 3 times. Try to identify each note in the aroma, the sharpness, the sweetness, the warmth. Label it mentally: citrus top note, earthy base, smoky undertone. Repeat with 5 different objects daily. Your brain begins to categorize, discriminate, and store scents in layers. Over time, you can differentiate aromas that would have blended into a single vague impression. More than sniffing everything obsessively, it's about disciplined awareness. Your nose and mind are partners. Repetition trains the connection. The mantra for this chapter is, "Where my nose goes, my mind follows." Say it silently as you inhale. Let it anchor your attention. Let it remind you that every inhalation is an opportunity to learn, remember, and understand. Beyond memory, smell shapes decision-making. A study from the Journal of Consumer Research showed that ambient scents influence consumer choices, even without awareness. In kitchens, restaurants, and retail spaces, managers use this principle intentionally. You, too, can use it intentionally, but for personal mastery. Imagine walking into a new environment and instantly reading its cleanliness, mood, or emotional tone just by noticing the subtle aromas. That is practical power. That is real-life advantage. Practical technique: scent journaling. Carry a small notebook or use your phone. Every time you notice a new scent, write it down. Record the context, the environment, the emotional impact. Review it weekly. Patterns emerge. The aroma of rain triggers nostalgia. A spice signals a cultural setting. A certain perfume signals confidence in people you meet. Your awareness expands. Your mind begins to connect scent with insight automatically. Even simple daily practices can sharpen your olfactory intelligence. In the morning, inhale the air outside your window. Note differences between seasons. In your kitchen, pause and smell ingredients before cooking. In your workspace, detect changes in air, papers, or electronics. Over time, your awareness becomes automatic, and subtle cues inform your choices before logic even engages. This is not intuition alone. It is disciplined sensory perception. Repetition is your secret weapon. Your nose, like a muscle, strengthens with use. Daily practice turns unconscious perception into conscious mastery. You notice more. You remember more. You anticipate more. You respond faster. The mantra, "Where my nose goes, my mind follows," keeps this connection alive and central to your awareness. It is a constant, guiding reminder. Now, consider how this integrates with the rest of your senses. Smell is not isolated. It complements vision, hearing, touch, and taste. Multisensory awareness magnifies your perception. Remember, this is not a luxury. It is not optional. Smell is an underutilized tool in your cognitive arsenal. The discipline is simple: notice, label, connect, repeat. Use your nose as a guide, and your mind will follow. The power lies in consistency, attention, and the daily decision to breathe consciously, not blindly. Chapter 3: Memory, Emotion, and Scent. Your nose is not merely a tool for identifying smells. It is a direct portal to your emotions and memories. Every inhalation carries far more than molecules. It carries the power to transport you across time, to awaken feelings, and to reveal truths about yourself that you cannot access through words alone. Most people underestimate this power. They sniff unconsciously, missing an extraordinary opportunity to train their mind and refine their awareness. Science calls this the olfactory limbic connection. When a scent enters your nose, it travels to the olfactory bulb, which is directly linked to the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, and the hippocampus, the seat of memory. Unlike vision or hearing, which pass through multiple relay points before reaching the areas that process meaning, smell bypasses these filters entirely. That means sense can trigger raw, immediate emotions and memories without conscious effort. A whiff of cinnamon can suddenly transport you to your grandmother's kitchen. The earthy scent of rain can pull up memories of childhood afternoons spent outdoors. This is biology at work, and it is waiting for you to train it. Every smell carries data about the world, about people, and about yourself. When you intentionally notice it, you activate neural circuits that strengthen memory recall, heighten attention, and increase emotional awareness. This is the same principle used by perfumers and sommeliers. They do not rely on eyesight alone. They rely on the intimate, precise relationship between smell and cognition. That is their discipline. That can be yours too. Exercise, scent-triggered memory. Begin with 3 distinct, familiar scents. Coffee, pine, and rain are excellent starting points. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply, slowly, and consciously. Let the scent fill your awareness. Now, allow your mind to wander to any memory that surfaces naturally. Don't force it. Journal every detail, the visual images, the emotions, the physical sensations. Do this daily with new scents, citrus, incense, spices, flowers. Your olfactory memory grows richer, sharper, and more nuanced. The mantra for this exercise is, every scent tells a story. I remember and feel. Repeat it silently as you breathe, embedding the practice in your subconscious. Consider real-life applications. Detecting subtle emotional cues through scent is a skill often overlooked. Humans exude chemicals that influence mood and perception. Studies from the monochemical senses center demonstrate that fear, stress, and happiness produce distinctive olfactory signals that others can subconsciously detect. Your awareness of these cues can sharpen your social intuition. The disciplined practitioner doesn't just smell for fragrance, they read environments, relationships, and even hidden tensions through scent. Memory and emotion are intertwined with decision-making. Research published in Nature Neuroscience confirms that olfactory evoked memories activate the hippocampus, enhancing learning and recall. By linking scents to important tasks, information, or lessons, you can improve retention naturally. Imagine preparing for a major presentation or exam while diffusing a distinct scent in your study space. Later, encountering that scent can trigger recall with clarity and focus. This is not a gimmick, it is a biological advantage available to anyone willing to train it. Practical technique, daily olfactory journaling. Take 5 to 10 minutes each day to notice new scents around you, street smells, kitchen aromas, office environments, nature. Write down what you smelled, the memory it triggered, and the emotional response it produced. Over time, patterns emerge. You begin to notice which scents make you calm, energized, or alert. You start to understand the emotional language of smell and integrate it into your daily life. The repetition of this habit creates an invisible, yet powerful, skill set. You remember more, feel more, and respond more intentionally. It's not about obsession. It's about disciplined attention. Each sniff is an opportunity to strengthen your mind, refine your emotional palate, and expand your awareness. Think of smell as a gym for the brain and heart. Consistent practice, even in small doses, produces dramatic improvements over weeks and months. Just as you would train your body, train your nose, and your mind will follow. Let's connect this to broader life applications. Imagine walking into a room and instantly sensing not just the ambient fragrance, but the underlying tension, the subtle mood, or the level of comfort. Imagine entering a forest and differentiating not just pine from oak, but the freshness of rain-soaked earth from decaying leaves. These are not trivial observations, they are decisions in action. They inform safety, strategy, creativity, and empathy. This is the kind of perception that separates passive experience from deliberate mastery. Advanced exercise, emotional mapping with scent. Begin identifying scents linked to specific emotional states. For instance, lavender might create calm, while peppermint stimulates focus. Assign each scent to a personal emotional response and practice recalling it. Over time, you can use scents to intentionally regulate mood, enhance focus, or access memories at will. Your nose becomes an emotional compass, guiding both cognition and behavior. The repetition mantra is your anchor. Every scent tells a story. I remember and feel. Repeat it each time you practice, each time you smell consciously, each time you journal. Repetition solidifies neural pathways and strengthens the olfactory emotional link. This is training, not passive perception. Chapter 4: Micro Smells, Macro Impact. Most people underestimate the power of small scents. They walk past subtle odors without a second thought, breathing passively while the world's hidden information passes right by. But the truth is this: life communicates constantly through smell, and those who learn to listen gain a disproportionate advantage. Microsmells can signal danger, opportunity, or beauty that others miss entirely. If you ignore them, you are blind to the world's richest signals. If you notice them, you tap into a hidden layer of perception few ever develop. Take a moment to consider your daily environment. You enter a kitchen. Most people only notice what is obvious: the food on the counter, the dishes in the sink. But a trained nose detects something far more revealing: a faint whiff of spoiled milk near the back of the fridge, signaling something needs attention before it becomes a problem. A subtle perfume note drifting through the office can reveal who entered the room moments ago, or even hint at someone's emotional state. These microsmells are information. They are invisible cues that, once recognized, allow you to act with foresight, precision, and clarity. The science is straightforward. The human nose can detect trillions of scents, far more than our other senses can interpret. Each scent molecule carries information: chemical, environmental, and even social. Our ancestors survived by detecting subtle odors: the smoke before a forest fire, the scent of predators on the wind, or the spoiled meat before it poisoned the tribe. Today, this skill is underused, but the biology hasn't changed. Your nose is still capable of reading these micro-signals, but only if you train it. Exercise. Daily scent spotting. This is your first practical step. Each day, commit to identifying 5 new scents in your environment. It could be the musty smell of a library book, the metal tang of rain on pavement, or the faint aroma of baking bread. Record each scent in a journal. Note its source, the context, and any associated emotions or memories. Over time, your awareness will expand. You will begin to notice patterns, subtle environmental cues, and emotional signals that others completely overlook. The repetition mantra is simple: I see life through smell. Say it each time you notice a new scent, embedding the practice into your subconscious. Let's take this a step further. Microsmells are not just curiosities, they are decision-making tools. Consider a chef whose entire career depends on detecting tiny differences in ingredients, a hint of almond in a sauce, the early tang of a fermented vegetable, the faint aroma of citrus that transforms a dish. These professionals train their noses daily, associating subtle chemical differences with precise outcomes. Now consider a firefighter. One sniff of smoke changes everything. The intensity, direction, and chemical signature reveal what is burning, whether people are in danger, and which tactics to use. These are life-and-death situations informed entirely by microsmells. In daily life, microsmells can also guide social and professional interactions. Studies in social neuroscience show that humans emit chemical signals, pheromones, that subtly influence attraction, trust, and stress levels. While most people remain oblivious, those who notice these microsignals can adjust their behavior, timing, and communication to optimize interactions. For instance, a slight trace of lavender might indicate calmness or confidence in a colleague, while an anxious body odor could signal tension before words ever confirm it. Your trained olfactory sense gives you an edge in reading these hidden layers. Practical application is key. Begin by using the microsmell scan technique. As you move through your day, walking to work, entering a cafe, or meeting someone, pause for 15 to 30 seconds to inhale deliberately. Try to isolate as many individual scents as possible. Name each scent silently, locate its source, and consider what it tells you about your environment. Over time, you'll move beyond the obvious and notice the subtle, the burnt sugar in the pastry, the faint ammonia in a cleaning product, the trace of wet soil after rain. Every microsmell is a clue. Every microsmell is an opportunity to act intelligently. Let's emphasize the discipline required. Noticing microsmells is not automatic. Most people have to train themselves to override the brain's tendency to filter out background information. Your nose is constantly bombarded with chemical signals, but the conscious mind ignores almost all of them. By practicing daily scent spotting and microsmell scans consistently, you retrain your brain to notice these cues. Now consider the ripple effect. The benefits of noticing microsmells extend far beyond immediate detection. It strengthens attention, improves memory, enhances emotional intelligence, and refines decision-making. Microsmells sharpen your perception of space and people. They allow you to act faster, anticipate outcomes, and sense threats or opportunities before they manifest. In essence, your olfactory sense becomes a silent advisor, constantly feeding your mind with actionable information. Let's explore a real-world example. Imagine walking into a grocery store. Most shoppers see aisles and products. A trained nose, however, detects the faint odor of spoiled produce, the artificial fragrance masking natural freshness, or the subtle scent that identifies which bakery items are truly fresh. Acting on these cues saves time, prevents mistakes, and heightens awareness. This is life lived with precision. This is the macro impact of microsmells. Finally, let's reinforce the mantra again. I see life through smell. Repeat it every time you breathe consciously, every time you perform your daily scent spotting exercise, and every time you notice subtle scents in your environment. Let it anchor your awareness. Let it remind you that mastery is built one sniff at a time. The world communicates constantly, and your nose is your translator, but only if you choose to listen. Chapter 5. Nature's Olfactory Gym. Most people step outside without a thought, walking through parks, streets, and open fields without ever noticing the extraordinary information swirling around them in the air. But nature is the ultimate trainer for your sense of smell. Every scent you inhale outdoors is a data point, signals from the environment, subtle chemical messages from plants, water, and soil. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. Nature's olfactory gym strengthens your attention, hones your emotional perception, and refines your decision-making. If you choose to breathe consciously, the outdoors can transform your nose into a finely tuned instrument. If you ignore it, your senses remain dull, and life passes by in muted grayscale. Start with something as simple as walking outside for 10 minutes. Most people consider this exercise in the literal, physical sense. I'm talking about olfactory exercise, training your nose, mind, and awareness simultaneously. The smell of wet soil after rain is more than a pleasant aroma. It's a sign of microbial life, moisture, and seasonal change. The scent of fresh flowers carries chemical cues about blooming cycles and pollination patterns. Even salty ocean air or the faint tang of pine in the forest contains information your subconscious can process, but only if your attention is active. Here's your first practical exercise, the 10-minute mindful smelling walk. Step outside and set a timer for 10 minutes. With each breath, attempt to identify and name every scent around you. Don't rush. Pay attention to subtleties. Notice how the aroma changes as you move past a tree, a puddle, or flower bed. Observe the interplay between temperature, humidity, and scent intensity. Take note of differences between morning and afternoon, summer and winter. Record your observations in a journal. Repetition is your ally. Say the mantra, I breathe nature. Nature sharpens me. Repeat it each time you inhale consciously. This primes your brain to link scent with attention, memory, and emotional clarity. Why is this so important? Nature's scents are dynamic, layered, and infinitely variable. Unlike artificial smells that remain static, outdoor odors fluctuate constantly. Each sniff offers new data, challenges your perception, and forces your brain to adapt. This strengthens your olfactory discrimination, emotional awareness, and even cognitive flexibility. Perfumer Georges Claude once said, "The nose is the memory of the world," and he wasn't exaggerating. By engaging daily with natural scents, you learn to detect patterns, subtle changes, and hidden signals that most people completely miss. Let's break this down scientifically. Your olfactory neurons connect directly to the limbic system, the area of the brain responsible for emotion and memory. That means every smell you encounter in nature doesn't just register as a fragrance, it triggers emotional responses, recalls memories, and can even alter mood. The smell of pine can make you feel alert and energized. Petrica, the scent of rain on dry soil, can evoke calm or nostalgia. By practicing mindful smelling outdoors, you are training your mind to integrate sensory input with emotional intelligence. You are learning to read the world through your nose. Consider professional examples. Botanists, ecologists, and herbalists rely heavily on natural scents. A subtle change in soil aroma can indicate nutrient levels or fungal growth. A slight change in plant scent can signal stress, disease, or readiness to bloom. Wildlife trackers detect animals by following faint odor trails left in the forest. These professionals succeed because they treat nature as an olfactory gym. They don't just look, they breathe actively, noticing changes most people can't even perceive. You can adopt the same mindset. Every walk outside is an opportunity to strengthen perception, attention, and emotional awareness. The mental discipline here is crucial. Most people think they are aware of their environment simply by existing within it. False. Awareness is earned through consistent practice. By intentionally inhaling and registering scents, you train your brain to overcome automatic filtering, to notice what is usually ignored, and to prioritize subtle but important details. This skill translates directly into other areas of life: decision-making, social intelligence, creativity, and situational awareness. The more you practice in nature, the sharper your nose becomes, and the more your mind learns to capture hidden information in daily life. Let's add another layer. Nature's scents also teach resilience and adaptation. The aroma of wet earth changes with every rainstorm. Flowers release volatile compounds at different times of the day. Ocean air shifts with tides and wind. By paying attention, you begin to notice patterns and rhythms in the natural world, enhancing your understanding of timing, cycles, and change. The brain strengthens its capacity to anticipate, recognize, and react to subtle environmental cues. In short, nature not only sharpens your nose, it trains your perception to anticipate life itself. Here's a practical tip. Carry a small notebook or use your phone to jot down 3 observations per walk. Note what you smelled, how it made you feel, and what changes you detected in your environment. Over weeks, you will build a database of scents, associations, and insights. You will start predicting subtle environmental changes, noticing things before others do, and responding with greater clarity and presence. Each sniff is a lesson. Each inhale is an opportunity for mastery. Repeat your mantra, I breathe nature. Nature sharpens me. This repetition embeds the practice into your subconscious. Finally, consider the broader lesson. Life is layered, complex, and often imperceptible at first glance or first breath. Nature's olfactory gym reminds you that small, intentional actions compound into extraordinary skill. By training your nose daily, you train your attention, your mind, and your emotional resilience. You learn to live awake. You learn to perceive what most people ignore. You learn to act, respond, and enjoy life with heightened awareness. Chapter 6. Smell and Social Intelligence. Most people walk into social situations oblivious to one of the most powerful signals in human interaction: scent. We rely almost entirely on words, expressions, and posture to judge trust, emotion, or intention, but our noses can tell us volumes about the people around us if we train them to notice. Reading the social world through smell gives you an unfair advantage. It allows you to detect tension before it's expressed, gauge authenticity before it's claimed, and anticipate behaviors before they manifest. Social intelligence is often described as emotional perception. What if I told you that olfactory perception amplifies emotional perception more accurately than any facial microexpression or verbal cue? The human body constantly emits chemicals, pheromones, natural scent markers, and even subtle changes caused by stress or excitement. We usually filter these out unconsciously. A person walking into a room after a brisk run smells different from someone relaxed, and your brain can interpret that difference if you allow it to. Leaders, negotiators, and skilled communicators instinctively pick up on these cues. Think of a top diplomat entering a tense negotiation. Their awareness isn't just visual or verbal. They sense the energy in the room, literally. That energy is transmitted through subtle olfactory signals. The same goes for interpersonal relationships. Attraction, trust, fear, and deception often carry a faint but detectable scent signature. Here's your practical exercise. Observe 1 social interaction per day and note 3 olfactory cues. It could be the subtle scent of a cologne, the lingering aroma of coffee on a co-worker's clothing, or the earthy, nervous sweat someone produces under stress. Don't judge or overthink. Simply observe and record. Ask yourself, what does this smell tell me about the emotional state or intentions of the person? Over time, your brain begins connecting olfactory input with emotional output, sharpening your social radar. Your mantra during this exercise: I smell the truth behind the mask. Repeat it every time you inhale consciously. This is not guesswork, it is active sensory training. It builds discipline in perception, enabling you to detect what most people overlook. Science supports this. Research from the Max Planck Institute for Chemical Ecology and several psychology studies demonstrate that human pheromones influence mood, sexual attraction, and even decision-making. A study published in Nature highlighted that women can detect changes in men's scent associated with testosterone fluctuations, often subconsciously influencing preference and trust. Stress odors trigger empathy and caution. Emotional states leave chemical footprints, and your nose, when trained, can read them as clearly as a trained eye reads micro-expressions. Leaders exploit this instinctively. Now you can too, deliberately. Let's talk real-world application. Imagine negotiating a high-stakes business deal. Most people rely solely on words and facial expressions. You, however, notice a subtle chemical hint, the client's stress-induced pheromone pattern. You can respond by adjusting tone, pacing, or phrasing to build trust before the first objection arises. In everyday life, imagine detecting when a friend is anxious or uncomfortable without a word spoken. Scent becomes an invisible signal, guiding your responses and actions with precision. This is not fantasy, it is discipline in olfactory intelligence. Now, integrate this skill with repetition and journaling. After your observation, write down your insights. I smelled nervousness in John's subtle perspiration around the wrist. I smelled the sweetness of lavender from Maria's scarf, signaling calm confidence. Doing this daily reinforces neural pathways linking smell with social perception. Your mantra strengthens the practice. I smell the truth behind the mask. Repetition creates mastery. Every social encounter becomes a training session. Every subtle scent a lesson in human psychology. Discipline here builds anticipation, empathy, and strategy, tools critical to high-functioning social intelligence. When you understand emotional states before they are verbalized, you respond more effectively, reduce conflict, and connect more authentically. It is the olfactory equivalent of reading body language, but often faster and more accurate. Your nose detects microsignals that precede speech, giving you a temporal advantage in understanding. Emotional intelligence amplified through smell transforms relationships, negotiations, and everyday interactions. You are no longer reacting, you are perceiving, anticipating, and acting with informed precision. Here's another layer. Scent also influences your own presence. People emit their own olfactory signals based on hygiene, diet, stress, and mood. By becoming mindful of your personal scent, you can project confidence, calm, and trustworthiness unconsciously. Choose subtle colognes, natural essential oils, or even daily rituals that align with the message you wish to convey. The combination of self-awareness and external awareness turns every social encounter into an arena for strategic olfactory perception. It's not luck. It's discipline. Finally, the bigger lesson. Humans are multi-sensory creatures, yet most neglect their most intimate, primal tool, smell. Words lie. Faces deceive. Emotions fluctuate. But your nose rarely lies, and it never forgets. When you train this sense, social intelligence becomes both intuitive and data-driven. You notice patterns, detect inconsistencies, and sense truth in ways most people cannot. Every inhalation becomes an act of training, every observation a step toward mastery. Chapter 7. Mindfulness through the nose. Most people think of mindfulness as sitting quietly, staring at a wall, or listening to guided meditations. Few realize that the simplest and most immediate path to presence lies right under your nose, literally. Smell is a direct line to your attention, your emotional state, and your brain's most primal regions. It bypasses the chatter of thought and instantly grounds you in the present moment. Consider this. When you walk into a room and notice the faint aroma of coffee, fresh paper, or a whiff of rain seeping through a window, most people register it subconsciously and move on. They miss the gift hidden in the scent, the chance to be fully present. This chapter teaches you to stop ignoring your nose and use olfaction as a mindfulness anchor. It's not about adding complexity to your life. It's about enhancing perception with a tool you already possess. Here's the core exercise. I call it 5 deep inhalations. Stand or sit comfortably. Close your eyes if it helps. Take a slow, deliberate breath. On the first inhale, notice every scent in the immediate environment: furniture, clothing, air particles, even the faintest hint of perfume or food. Label them mentally: wood, citrus, coffee, paper. Exhale slowly, releasing tension. Repeat 4 more times. With each breath, your awareness deepens. Each inhalation is a training session for focus, patience, and sensory integration. Your mantra during this exercise: I am here. I smell now. I live now. Repeat it silently or aloud, locking your mind into the present. This is not just abstract theory. Studies in olfactory neuroscience show that smell is directly connected to the limbic system, the brain's emotional and memory center. Unlike vision or hearing, which first pass through higher cortical processing, scents trigger emotion and attention immediately. This is why a single aroma, freshly baked bread, wet grass, or even a subtle floral note, can transport you to a specific place, moment, or feeling. By training yourself to focus consciously on these scents, you harness that connection to anchor yourself in the now, sharpening both awareness and emotional regulation. Let's take a practical example. Imagine walking through a park. Instead of scrolling your phone or thinking about tomorrow's obligations, you engage your olfactory senses fully. You notice the damp earth underfoot, the faint musk of decaying leaves, the sweetness of blooming flowers. Each smell is a signal of the present, a micro-experience you might otherwise miss. You feel more alive, more connected, more awake. It's not about perfection, it's about discipline. Over time, repeated practice of this olfactory mindfulness rewires your brain to notice subtle cues, reduce mental noise, and enhance your enjoyment of life. Another key technique is to integrate olfactory awareness into routine tasks. Brewing your morning coffee. Stop and inhale deliberately. What scents emerge? The richness of roasted beans, the acidity, the warmth of steam. Washing dishes. The scent of soap, water, and the lingering aroma of last night's dinner. Driving in the car. Notice the outside air, exhaust, flowers, or rain on asphalt. Each everyday moment becomes a mindfulness exercise, a chance to strengthen your connection to the present through smell. Your mantra remains: I am here. I smell now. I live now. Repeat it constantly, and you condition the brain to link attention with sensory input. Discipline creates automatic presence. There's a powerful psychological benefit here too. Mindfulness is proven to reduce stress, improve focus, and enhance emotional intelligence. Most meditation techniques rely heavily on visual or auditory focus, which the mind can easily bypass or dull. Smell, however, is a primal, unavoidable sense. By leveraging your olfactory system for mindfulness, you engage an inherently grounding sense, reducing distraction and deepening emotional awareness. It is, in essence, the shortcut to meditation that most people overlook. Think of it this way: your nose is a radar for the present. When you inhale consciously, labeling scents and linking them to sensation, you train both attention and perception. Over weeks of practice, even mundane environments, offices, classrooms, grocery stores, become rich fields of sensory data, enhancing your situational awareness and emotional intelligence. You see the world through scent as much as through sight, hearing, or touch. This is not magic. It's consistent, disciplined practice, the same principle as a musician training or an athlete refining reflexes. Mindfulness through smell is about refining awareness through repeated, conscious engagement. To reinforce this discipline, create a simple daily ritual. At a fixed time each day, morning, lunch break, or evening, perform 5 minutes of dedicated olfactory mindfulness. Record your observations in a small journal, list scents, note emotional reactions, and observe changes over time. Ask yourself, which scents ground me? Which energize or calm me? Which reveal patterns in my environment I would otherwise miss? Repetition ingrains the habit. Discipline turns awareness into automatic, effortless perception. Your mantra, I am here. I smell now. I live now. Write it, speak it, live it. Finally, understand this. Mindfulness through smell is more than a meditation exercise. It is a tool to reshape perception, enhance presence, and transform daily life. Every scent is a signal, every inhalation a chance to practice attention, and every moment an opportunity to live fully. You are not simply breathing, you are engaging, noticing, and integrating reality. Most people never experience the richness of life because they bypass this most intimate sense. You will not be most people. You will practice. You will discipline. You will live awake through your nose. Chapter 8. Creativity and the Nose. Creativity is often treated as an abstract gift, a spark that some people have and others don't. That's nonsense. Creativity is not a mystical talent. It is a skill, a discipline, and a practice. And one of the most overlooked triggers for innovation lies in your nose. Yes, your sense of smell, the olfactory system most people ignore, can ignite imagination, boost problem-solving, and even open entirely new ways of thinking. Here's the first hard truth. Most people walk through life inhaling without thinking. They pass by a coffee shop, a florist, or park, and they notice nothing. And then they wonder why their creativity feels flat, why ideas seem shallow or repetitive. It's not that your brain is incapable, it's that your input is limited. Your senses are starving, and the nose is a forgotten pipeline. Smells, whether natural or artificial, activate regions of the brain linked to memory, emotion, and abstract thought, particularly the limbic system and orbitofrontal cortex. When you consciously engage smell, you unlock pathways that your eyes or ears alone cannot reach. Consider the practice of perfumers and chefs. They don't just identify scents, they use smell as a creative tool. They combine notes, imagine new aromas, and visualize experiences before they exist. This is the principle you are going to apply. Think about citrus, the bright zing of a lemon or orange. Now close your eyes and imagine that smell, letting your mind explore associations, freshness, energy, sunlight, creativity. Do the same with incense, wood, or rain-drenched earth. Each scent becomes a portal to idea generation. It's not about random daydreaming. It's about discipline-guided imagination. The mantra to reinforce, what I smell sparks what I create. Repeat it constantly as you practice. Here's a practical exercise I call the scent-inspired sketch. Take 3 scents from your environment, a cup of coffee, a sprig of mint, and a piece of wood or incense. Sit quietly, inhale deeply, and let your mind wander through the associations of each scent. Now, take a pen, notebook, or sketchpad and draw or write whatever emerges. Don't censor. Don't judge. You're not creating a masterpiece. You're training your mind to translate smell into concept. Do this daily for 5 to 10 minutes. Over time, you will notice your creative muscles flex more easily, ideas will arise faster, richer, and in unexpected patterns. Real-world innovators often use smell instinctively. Steve Jobs reportedly loved walks surrounded by nature and the crisp aroma of leaves, claiming it helped him think differently about design and technology. Sommeliers rely on subtle olfactory differences to imagine combinations in wine, food, and flavor. Artists, writers, and entrepreneurs can do the same. Smell acts as a gateway to abstract, associative thinking, because it bypasses linear, verbal thought and taps directly into sensory memory. This is your advantage, a hidden lever most people never pull. Now, a crucial reinforcement. Creativity is not just inspiration, it's about practice and discipline. Many people wait for the right idea to strike, blaming lack of creativity on mood, motivation, or environment. Wrong. Innovation requires structured sensory engagement. By training yourself to consciously notice scents and actively link them to concepts, images, and solutions, you create a repeatable process. Instead of waiting for magic, it's about training your nose to guide your imagination. Another technique is olfactory brainstorming. Gather 4 or 5 distinct scents: citrus, wood, incense, coffee, or rain. For each scent, list 10 ideas, associations, or images it inspires. Push beyond the obvious. Citrus might inspire freshness or speed. Wood might trigger stability or grounding. Coffee could evoke energy, focus, or contrast. After 10 minutes, look at the patterns. You'll notice connections your usual thinking misses. Smell can unlock links between disparate ideas, fueling innovation and insight in a way that text, images, or even music cannot. Let's reinforce this with repetition. What I smell sparks what I create. My nose is my gateway to imagination. My creativity flows through scent. Say it before, during, and after exercises. This repetition primes your subconscious to link olfactory input to mental output automatically. Over weeks, you will start noticing new smells triggering ideas spontaneously, even when you're not consciously practicing. Your environment becomes a workshop, and your nose becomes the tool to extract innovation from everyday life. Here's another real-world scenario. Imagine you are solving a problem at work, designing a product, writing content, or planning strategy. Instead of staring at a screen or pacing the floor, step outside and engage your nose fully. Notice the wet asphalt, the flowers, the bakery, the smell of distant exhaust. As you consciously map these scents, allow your mind to generate analogies. A strong floral aroma might inspire branding ideas. Damp earth could suggest grounded, natural solutions. Coffee aroma could trigger energy or urgency in decision-making. You are harnessing sensory input to create new mental frameworks. That is creativity in action, powered by smell. Finally, remember this: the nose is not a passive sense. It is a discipline, a lever, and a guide. By consciously linking smell to imagination, you transform your perception into output. This is not about fancy gadgets or rare skills. It's about consistency, mindfulness, and deliberate practice. Every inhalation is an opportunity. Every scent is a prompt. Every day becomes a laboratory for innovation. Chapter 9. Patterns and Signals in Smell. If you think smell is just about noticing a fragrance or avoiding a bad odor, you are only scratching the surface. The truth is that smell is a sophisticated signal system, constantly delivering information about the environment, people, and situations. The ones who succeed, chefs, perfumers, detectives, investors, understand this. They don't just smell. They read patterns and detect signals that others overlook. Let's begin with the first hard truth. Most people miss patterns because they never notice the inputs in the first place. You walk into a cafe, smell freshly ground coffee, bread, or cleaning products, and it barely registers. Then, a subtle hint, a floral note in the air, a faint smell of smoke, or an unusual chemical odor passes by unnoticed. Your subconscious detects it, but your conscious mind ignores it. That's a wasted opportunity. Every scent contains layers, associations, and signals. If you learn to identify and track them, you gain access to information that others overlook. Now, let's make this practical. Take the example of a perfumer. A professional perfumer doesn't just smell a rose or citrus peel. They detect the subtle interplay between top notes, heart notes, and base notes, the faintest variation that changes the entire composition. Each day, they train their nose to recognize recurring patterns in raw materials. Similarly, a chef can taste and smell dishes, adjusting spices by noticing recurring aromas in ingredients. In your life, this can be as simple as detecting environmental cues, the change in air when it's about to rain, the faint odor indicating spoiled food, or the subtle scent of a candle hinting at a specific mood or setting. These patterns matter. They are your early warning system, your source of insight, your competitive edge. Here's an exercise to develop this skill: daily pattern detection. For 10 minutes each day, walk through your home, workplace, or neighborhood. Take deep breaths, deliberately noting every recurring scent. Is there a faint coffee smell each morning near a cafe? Does your living room always have a hint of wood polish after cleaning? Does the air change when your cat is in a specific room? Write these observations down and correlate them with time, location, and your own mood. Over time, you'll notice predictable patterns emerging, and these patterns can give you valuable insights. This is not fantasy, it's neuroscience. The olfactory bulb is directly linked to the limbic system, which controls memory and emotional processing. By tracking patterns, you are training your brain to make faster, deeper connections and enhancing your situational awareness. Let's put this in a real-world context. Detectives and investigators often rely on smell to find evidence or understand crime scenes. They notice unusual chemical odors, decaying materials, or even faint perfumes left in a room. Investors, though less obvious, can also pick up smells of behavior, the emotional climate in meetings, stress indicators, or subtle environmental cues in workplaces. These patterns may be intangible, but they guide decisions. And here's the point: your nose is capable of the same perception if you train it correctly. Next, let's discuss layering. In smell, patterns often overlap. One scent may mask or interact with another. For example, the aroma of roasted coffee might blend with the faint smell of citrus from a nearby fruit stall. Instead of ignoring the complexity, learn to dissect these layers. Identify the foreground, the background, and the subtle notes in between. This is critical because the ability to separate, recognize, and interpret layers translates to sharper thinking in other areas of life. Patterns are rarely simple. Life rarely is. By training your nose to pick apart scents, you are simultaneously training your brain to recognize complexity, notice anomalies, and make informed decisions. Here's another powerful technique: associative pattern linking. When you detect a recurring scent, write down what it reminds you of, what action it signals, and any emotional response it triggers. For instance, the faint smell of rain on concrete might signal freshness, reflection, or a shift in environment. That association can become a creative cue, a decision-making insight, or even a mindfulness anchor. Over weeks, you'll build a mental database of scents, patterns, and interpretations. Your nose becomes a tool not just for perception but for prediction and proactive action. Let's reinforce the mindset. It's not about luck, it's about discipline. You are not waiting for serendipity. You are cultivating a habit, a system, and a skill. Every day you practice, your olfactory brain maps expand. You notice more, interpret faster, and react smarter. Repetition is key. I see patterns through my nose. I find what others miss. I am awake to the hidden signals. Use it before, during, and after exercises. Embed it deeply into your mind and behavior. Finally, consider the bigger picture. Recognizing patterns and signals through smell is not an isolated skill. It amplifies memory, creativity, mindfulness, and social intelligence. It allows you to read situations, anticipate outcomes, and respond with clarity. The nose becomes more than a sense. It becomes a disciplinary tool for living fully, aware, and connected. By the end of this chapter, you should not only be aware of recurring scents, but also trained to extract meaning, emotion, and actionable insight from them. Chapter 10. Live Awake, Smell as a Daily Discipline. You've spent the last 9 chapters training your nose. You've learned to stop breathing blindly, to understand the science of smell, to connect scent with memory and emotion, to detect microsense patterns and signals, and to harness smell for creativity, social intelligence, and mindfulness. Now it's time for the final, and arguably most important, step, integrating all of this into your daily life. This is where transformation happens. It's not enough to practice exercises occasionally. Your nose is a muscle, and if you want its power fully unleashed, you must make olfactory awareness a constant discipline. First, let's address a hard truth. Most people live disconnected from their own senses. They cook without noticing the aroma of spices, walk without smelling the air, clean without recognizing the scent cues of freshness, and commute without registering the invisible details around them. They live life half asleep. You, on the other hand, are about to become fully awake. Not just seeing the world, but smelling it, experiencing it, learning from it, and letting it inform your actions. Let's start with practical integration. Every activity becomes a training ground. 1. Mindful cooking. When you cook, engage all aspects of smell. Notice how garlic, onions, and spices release their aroma when heated. Notice subtle changes in texture and scent that indicate freshness or readiness. If you're making coffee, identify the subtle differences between beans or roasts. By focusing on the olfactory cues, you improve not only your sensory awareness but your decision-making skills. You begin to anticipate, to adjust, and to respond rather than react blindly. This is discipline in motion. Remember, it's not about casually sniffing, it's about active, intentional smelling. Every scent has a story. Every story carries insight. 2. Walking and commuting. Step outside your door intentionally. Instead of zoning out on your phone, inhale deeply. Identify at least 3 distinct smells around you: the wet asphalt after rain, the bakery around the corner, the faint exhaust of a passing vehicle, the perfume of someone walking by. Track changes over time. How does the scent of your street differ in the morning versus the evening? How does your emotional state respond to different smells? By making this a daily practice, your olfactory memory strengthens and your awareness expands. You will start to notice patterns, cues, and signals that others miss. 3. Cleaning and household maintenance. Even tasks you consider mundane, laundry, washing dishes, tidying your space, are opportunities for olfactory training. Identify the sense of cleanliness, detect lingering odors, and notice the absence of smell. Subtle changes in air quality or odors can indicate problems like mold, stale food, or chemical imbalance. By integrating smell into these routine tasks, you create a constant feedback loop, training your brain to read your environment with precision. Discipline is built in repetition and consistency. Every task is a sensory opportunity. 4. Emotional regulation and stress reduction. Your nose is directly linked to the limbic system, the part of the brain that governs emotion and memory. By training your sense of smell, you gain a tool for emotional awareness. For instance, the smell of pine, citrus, or lavender can calm the nervous system. The aroma of coffee or fresh bread can energize and motivate. By actively noting the impact of scent on your mood, you begin to self-regulate, reducing stress and increasing focus. Repetition mantra: I breathe consciously. I feel fully. I live through my nose. Over time, this creates a subconscious habit of mindfulness rooted in olfactory awareness. 5. Integration into creativity and insight. Throughout this book, you've learned that smell can trigger memory, spark imagination, and enhance social perception. Now, make it a daily discipline. Associate scents with problem-solving. Smell an essential oil while brainstorming. Take note of a new perfume while planning a project, or use environmental scents to stimulate insight during reflective walks. Creativity thrives when you intentionally integrate smell into your daily life. Here's the overarching principle: discipline converts potential into power. Your nose is no longer just an organ. It is a decision-making tool, a memory enhancer, a mood regulator, and a creativity amplifier. The more you practice, the stronger the neural connections, the sharper the perception, the richer the experience. Every day you ignore is a day wasted. Every day you engage, it is a step closer to mastery. Remember, it's not about talent. It's about consistency, repetition, and focused awareness. Let's tie this back to the exercises you've practiced: the 1-minute scent scan, daily pattern detection, mindful walking, and associative linking. None of these exercises are complete unless they are integrated into daily life. That's the true power. A chef smells constantly, a perfumer evaluates daily, a detective observes every clue. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is the commitment to live awake in every moment. Finally, the challenge is simple but profound. Take every day as a training session. Your morning, your commute, your work, your meals, your interactions. Let every scent anchor your attention. Let every fragrance inform your perception. Let every subtle odor be a signal guiding thought, creativity, and action. Your nose is your radar, your guide, and your amplifier. Use it fully. Use it daily. Use it relentlessly. Repetition mantra one final time: I awaken my nose. I live fully. I notice all scents. This is the culmination of your olfactory discipline. By integrating smell into every aspect of life, you don't just perceive the world, you experience it fully, strategically, and creatively. You are awake. You are aware. You are alive. Transition to reflection or next steps. Take this practice beyond today. Let it shape your life. Let it guide your decisions, sharpen your insight, and deepen your joy. Smell is not a passive sense. It is a daily discipline, a personal superpower, and a gateway to living fully awake.